All right, we are now joined by one of my good friends and a very special guest, Chris Doering. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you having me back on. I mean, I think the last one of the last times that you had me on, I think I talked about your weight, and that was probably not a very nice thing to do. But I think it did spur you to actually get in better shape. So, how much are we down
Yeah.
now?
I haven't weighed in a while, but probably between 20-25.
You're one of those guys. Like I don't weigh. I just go off of how my clothes fit. I just feel good about myself.
No, that is the last part is definitely not true, and you know that. No, but it's I moved into a new place. I don't have a scale yet. We'll figure it out. I
Uh,
look. I'm at an angle here, but I look
But
better than
you look
before.
very good. I got to be honest with you, man. And I'm one of your biggest cheerleaders, and you were updating me as you were going and changing kind of your lifestyle, man. So I'm
Yeah,
very proud of you, and as I have been for a long time, and looking forward to continuing to watch your success, bro.
I appreciate it, man. You as well. I heard you're doing great at this whole SEC network. I guess they're going to stick with it. But
We
we're,
did
we're
just sign a new
previewing.
2-year deal. I got re-upped, so that's a big thing. I don't know if I guess I'm supposed to say that the announcement is coming forth next week, but yeah, happy to be back, man. Looking forward to being back with the boys for another fall here.
Good deal, man. Well, we're going to talk about your alma mater today, obviously. We are going to be doing team previews still. It's the last episode of the team previews, and we're going big. It's going to be Georgia, Bama, and Florida. We want to talk to you about Florida. You kind of brought this up the last time we spoke, and it's funny because it's like starting to kind of catch on now that we're in camp and everything like that. The quarterback battle. Before we get into anything, tell me what your thoughts are. Where is it currently, and who you think wins that
Oh,
job?
no, don't stop. I mean, make sure you finish patting me on the back, because I was one of the first and only people that said, "Hey, this is not a foregone conclusion that Emory Jones is going to win the starting quarterback job." In fact, I think Anthony Richardson presents a very valid challenge, and this was back like in the spring as we were talking about this.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, I'm watching mock drafts with Emory Jones as the number 6 pick overall or something crazy. Like, hey, I hope Emory Jones wins the job. He's stuck around. He's done the things that most quarterbacks that are highly recruited don't do in this day and age, and that's persevere and wait for his opportunity. But the thing that you want to do as a coach is you want to build talent. You want to create competition at every single
Mhm.
position. And I love that Dan Mullen has always kind of done that, at the quarterback spot too. So I have heard a lot coming out of camp about how Anthony Richardson is performing really, really well right now. I wouldn't be surprised to see those guys both play a lot this season. I think they both are great fits for what Dan Mullen wants to do in terms of their athleticism and their running ability. But Anthony Richardson, there's something kind of special about him. He's got a big arm. He's a big guy right here in Gainesville as well. So a lot of us Gainesville people are cheering for him in that respect. But I think Florida's quarterback situation is in good hands, and the offense will look a little bit different than it did with Kyle Trask last year. But it's a little bit more like the traditional Mullen offense that we've seen at Mississippi State in the past.
Yeah, I think, either way, being able to open up the full playbook, because coming Trask was not a runner. I think that'll be great to see in this year, Florida football, especially under Mullen. I don't know if you've heard this, and I know you're like kind of close to the program and all that kind of stuff, and kind of tuned in, but like, so they lose a lot of production. Florida does this year, and they haven't really been talking about that much in the offseason from any pundits or preseason magazines or anything. And losing the first round picks and Kyle Trask, and obviously I'm kidding here, but give us a name we probably haven't spoken enough about yet that could be a breakout player in 2021.
Well, here's the thing, man. I mean, everybody's talking about the quarterbacks you lose, the quarterback you lose, and the receivers that you lose, including the tight end Kyle Pitts. I mean, like, I'm looking around at the depth chart at the receiver and tight end position. I feel really good about those guys that have played a lot of snaps. Jacob Copeland was a highly
Mhm.
recruited guy that kind of has a chance to now burst into that number one receiver role. Xavier Henderson was a freshman that played a lot last year. So he had some much needed experience. Trent Whittemore, another guy from right here in Gainesville, that you're going to see making big plays for Florida this year. So there's a lot of guys that have experience there, and you look at the tight end Zipper is a guy that's played a lot as well. So I don't really feel like it's a huge drop off. I know you lose highly sought after guys at the NFL level, and guys that were recruited in the first round, but are signed in the first round. But I feel like they're very replaceable guys because of the talent that's been recruited at the wide receiver and tight end positions. The thing that I look at really, Chris, that I'm most worried about is Florida's defense, and it all starts with their defensive line. I mean, the defensive
Yeah.
line has been below par in terms of what Florida has had in the past, what they expect to have. Being able to have the dominant players on the line of scrimmage is something Florida's been known for, and they just didn't have that last year. They didn't have the ability to rush the passer with just their front four. They didn't have the ability to penetrate and create some disruptiveness in the run game. So that's where I want to see an improvement this year. And I think all that started last year in terms of the historically bad defense and inability to cover in the passing game started with the defensive line.
Well, that was my next question. So you're kind of a dick for going right into it. I mean, I had a whole order of operations here, but no, I mean, like speaking to that, I think you're 100% correct. Like, because we've talked about nonstop, like every single, like I said, radio station, pundit, preseason magazine, all we want to talk about is the offense. But I mean, that was a national championship caliber team last year, or at least a playoff caliber team last year.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the defense, I mean, they played Bama closer than anyone else in the country. There were several games that they were in. You saw what they did to Georgia's defense. Like I would assume the defense would get better. And you talked about the defensive line. Is there a breakout player on defense this year that we're not talking about?
Well, it was nice to get Zachary Carter back. I mean, this is a guy that could have gone to the NFL draft last year, and so having him back is important. But Javon Dexter is a guy that was recruited very highly in last year's class, played a lot as a freshman last season, looks the part with the body. I want to see more consistency and more dominance from him. But I think those are the guys that you're going to look to. And obviously Florida got some help in the transfer portal, one from Auburn and one from Penn State. So can those guys come in and be impact players? As you know, it's not just about your front four when it comes to the defensive line. It's having depth there. It's being able to roll 10 or 12 different guys through there and not really have a drop off in talent. So I think that's what I'm looking for this year. It's not only the dominant players, but the depth of really talented players that you can bring in to spell those dominant players.
Good point. Looking at the schedule, right? I know that you brought up a really good point months ago when we first had you on, and you said, all this stuff worrying about like what Mullen is going to do this year. Is he going to be able to replace these guys if he recruited well enough? And you brought up the point, like we weren't talking about those players as at the caliber we are now a year ago. So why are we all of a sudden, like experts on the subject? So looking at the schedule, a lot is made out of the Bama game. A lot is made out of the Georgia game. Is there a game on the schedule that I want to say is must win, but do you think could swing the rest of the season in a positive or negative way? Like we talked about before. Go ahead.
It's one of the most difficult schedules in the country. The fact that Florida has to play both LSU and Alabama from the West this year as their crossover opponents. Those games are going to be really challenging, as the Georgia one is, you mentioned. But I look at Kentucky. I think it's October 2nd, first weekend of October. It's a sneaky big game for Florida. Kentucky, that place has been rocking when the Gators come to town in recent years, and they've had some near misses. I think this is the year that they feel like they can get that elusive home win over the Gators, something that hadn't happened for multiple decades there in Lexington. So that's one with Liam Cohen and his new offense and Will Levis coming in to open up the passing game a little bit, that I really think is a scary one on Florida's schedule that could swing, where the balance of power in the East. And I look at the second game of the season. That Missouri-Kentucky game is going to be really big for determining who's looking to challenge what we perceive to be the best in the East in Georgia and Florida.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, last question. We'll get you out of here. I know you got dinner. And so the over-under has been set, and this is how we close every single segment with this is the over-under is 9, right? And it's obviously in Vegas. They usually know what they're talking about, except for with the Tennessee line, because that's at 6, and that makes no sense to me. Are you taking the over or the under, and give me just an overall season prediction for Florida?
Oh man, that's a tough one because it's right at where I think, the number probably should be in terms of the over. Like I really believe, and I know you're not going to like to hear this as an Alabama guy, but I think that sets up perfectly for Florida, getting Alabama early when they're trying to get the continuity and chemistry together with a new offensive coordinator and new quarterback and replacing the skill that they lost. So I think Florida, if they can catch them at the right time and pull the upset, I think this team is capable of winning 10 games. So I'm going to reluctantly take the over, although, I think they probably end up somewhere right about 9-3, to be honest with you.
Okay, fair enough. And just so you know, as objective as I always am, I actually have Bama going 10-2 this year. So there you go.
Taking the under on Bama's total, which I believe is 10.5, right? Isn't that? I think
no, it's 11.5. Or
it's 11.5. Yeah. Like really, all you got to do is lose one game, and with the way the SEC West is this year, and the crossover opponent that Florida had or that Alabama has in Florida, like I think taking the under is a smart one there. I think the other over, and I've been singing Kentucky's praises for years, but that Kentucky win total looks a little bit low to me as well.
Fair enough, man. Well, we'll have to get you back on for some.
You're not even asking.
You better be.
I'm a man of the people.
Well, I appreciate that, dude. We're gonna check back with you and see if these are winners, because if they're not, we're gonna have a problem. So keep those kneecaps safe, and our guys won't get to you. But we'll have you on again soon, man. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you then.
Hey, thanks for dressing up, man. We appreciate the orange and blue.
It's a Florida shirt.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I love it.
You're welcome. All right, I appreciate it too, man. I'll talk to you soon.
See you, buddy.